Hello everyone and welcome back to the third video in our online video orientation series. So this video is going to be talking about our foreign teacher management system and a little bit more about the role of being an SDE teacher. Alright, so like I just said, I want to talk a little bit more about the role of being an SDE teacher. I'll go into the foreign teacher management team that includes specialists, supervisors, and managers. I want to talk about how we're going to coordinate things with your schools and your contact teacher. We'll discuss the salary, the housing allowance, and important taxes that you'll need to be aware of. And then at the end, I'll give you some important contacts that are going to be convenient to have. All right, so let's dig into the role of foreign teacher. Teaching for SDE, you're going to be supported by two main departments. That's the Foreign Teachers Management Department, which includes the business team, that's the specialists, their supervisors and managers. And then we'll also have the academic management team. That's going to be all of our Chinese academic managers in the SDE office, as well as several of our more experienced teachers that we have trained to be part-time academic supervisors. And of course, we'll have most departments that most businesses have to support all of that. That's going to be HR, finance, myself over in recruitment, we'll have a visa team, and then of course the business administrative and IT teams as well. All right, now I wanted to get into a little bit more specifics about the foreign teacher role at SDE and what we do to make it a success. So there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of factors that need to go into this program. The goal is to internationalize education for Chinese students, to contribute to their English learning and education. In order to do this, we need to provide our teachers with well-designed teaching materials and of course recruit teachers that have excellent skills themselves. The biggest factor of this program is of course our teachers and making sure they are successful inside and outside the classroom while they're in China. This means making sure they're healthy, they're happy, they're safe, they're financially secure. We need to make sure everything being done with their visas and with their employment is legal and by the book. In China, that isn't always the case. And then of course, on the other hand, we need to make sure our teachers are well behaved in the classroom and are of course qualified and have the skill set to do the job. Now, the core driver of this program for our teacher support is our foreign teachers management team down here in the bottom left corner. That includes your specialists, their supervisors, and their managers. Those are the people that you're going to go to for support in your day-to-day lives inside and outside the classroom. They'll help you with your contacts at the school. They'll help you get set up in your daily life here in China with your phone, your bank, your apartment, and anything else you need while you're here for the duration of your contract. And then another key driver for this program is the academic management team. Those are the people in the office who create the curriculum and teaching methods. They're experienced academic professionals. And of course, we also have some part-time teachers who are more experienced assisting the academic team as well as supervisors. Next up is the second most important role at SDE, and that is the role of the specialist. So your specialist is going to be responsible from anywhere from 20 to 30 foreign teachers and maybe around 20 schools. So they are the go-between between SDE, the company, and the foreign teacher. You will go to your specialist for anything you need to talk to the company about. Unless it's something that they themselves cannot deal with, then of course you'll be directed to the relevant department. But the majority of the time, the specialist will be your main contact. The expectations of specialists are that they're professional, they're patient, they're supportive, and then they understand your limitations. So specialists are kind of a jack of all trades role. They're helping you get settled in China. They're dealing with your school. They're dealing with the company. They're dealing with several foreign teachers at any given time. So that requires a very advanced skill set. And of course, their English needs to be fantastic. A specialist will be a Chinese employee that is bilingual. And of course, they'll need to understand the limitations of their teachers Well, at the same time, the teachers will need to understand the limitations of a specialist. While they're here to help you deal with all of your issues, they are servicing many teachers and schools all at once. So just being understanding of them getting back to you in a timely manner and also the scale at which they can help with some of your issues. If it's a big serious thing, you may need to come into the office and speak to a different department. But like I said, the specialist can help you with the majority of your requests and issues. Like I said, the expectations for your specialist are the same as foreign teachers: professional, being patient and supportive, as well as understanding those limitations. All right, so continuing on about specialists and what exactly they are responsible for. We have settling down your first few days in China. They'll help you with your arrival by picking you up at the airport or meeting you at the HK border, getting you into a hotel while you go through orientation, and just assist you with the pre-job process. That includes like your health check, your police registration, finding accommodation, and so forth. They are also your main contact between the school and the company. You'll have a contact teacher at school who you'll report to for day-to-day things at school, and I'll get to that later. But your specialist is your contact between the school and SDE. They're the ones who are going to help us set up the initial interview and the first meeting. They'll be in charge of collecting your monthly attendance sheets, of making sure everyone at the school is happy with your performance and SDE's performance, and they'll also handle school visits and complaints. The management team for the specialist, the supervisors, and the upper management will also help them with handling of more important things like salary and benefits discussions and talks, as well as coordinating different events, helping you ask for leave if you need it, sick, personal, or otherwise, dealing with serious personal complaints. While your specialist will help you with many smaller issues, maybe you'll have some bigger things that you need help with, and there are avenues that will give you to go over your specialist to other departments or upper management. And then of course, they'll assist you with personal development here while you're at SDE. And then they'll also help with a lot of fun stuff, a lot of teacher social engagement, events and activities. Not hospital visits aren't necessarily fun, but they can help you if you need to do that, especially if your Chinese is limited. They can assist you with different ways to transfer money back home, communicating with your landlords, and almost anything within reason. And again, going back to the previous slide of just being understanding of their time and having reasonable expectations. Next up, let's get into the big guns, the supervisors and the managers. So supervisors are basically like really advanced expert specialists. Usually they've been a specialist for a few years and now they're responsible for managing some other specialists in their district. And they'll be in charge of making like big announcements and also helping issue specialists with different issues that maybe they don't have the time to deal with themselves. We also have managers. Right now, it's currently Brian for the east of Shenzhen and Jenna for the west, and they oversee all of the supervisors and the specialists, and they make the big decisions when it comes to the schools in their districts and special issues with teachers happening in their regions. When we escalate issues, if you're having an issue with your specialist and maybe they're not responding as quickly as is needed, or you feel like the solution they've given you isn't adequate, we will have ways to escalate this issue that will be laid out in the handbook that you're going to receive when you arrive here. And as of right now, the typical way of escalating an issue is bringing it from your specialist to their supervisor. If their manager needs to get involved, they can. And then for very important, severe, critical issues, maybe even their director will get involved. Also, I'll go over this later at the end of this video, but we have some special contacts for you to have. And in that, we will include the foreign teacher coordinator, Arpita, who can also help with some of these more serious issues. So like I just mentioned, the foreign teacher coordinator role, currently it is Arpita, but they are responsible for optimizing the engagement between the teachers and the company, by setting up a communication platform that will have some communications and system in place for teachers talking to different departments of the company. They'll also be responsible for handling any serious issues or complaints that maybe your specialist is too busy to handle or can't get around to or doesn't have the skill set to deal with. They will also be organizing some teachers' social events and activities and engagement with not only the company, but their schools and local communities. And then also our Pita, the current foreign teacher coordinator, is American. You know, she has a foreign perspective. She taught for SDE for 3 years, which is something that's critical to this role, is to be able to understand things from a teacher's point of view and not necessarily a Chinese employee in the company. All right, next up, let's talk about how we coordinate things with the schools, the communication between you, SDE, and your assigned school. So I want to introduce the role of contact teacher. This is a Chinese teacher at your assigned school that has been assigned to be the go-between between you and SDE. While your specialist is the representative of SDE in this relationship, your contact teacher is the school representative and will be who you report to on a day-to-day basis at your school. They are chosen specifically to help us with this. It's not their job. It's actually just an extra assignment as they are already a teacher at the school. This position is selected by the school. Usually they choose someone whose English is very good and is maybe the head of an English department or a senior teacher at that school. However, it's up to the school. So whether you get a junior or senior teacher is totally up to them. But SDE does work with the contact teacher to make sure they know their responsibilities and expectations when it comes to interacting with the foreign teacher, our employee. And so as you can see here, it's kind of a triangle. The foreign teacher, between the contact teacher and the specialist. The contact teacher representing your school and the specialist representing SDE. Any issues you're having with SDE or the school, you can communicate both of those to your specialist, and also anything you're having with your school, you can communicate to your contact teacher, and you guys will all work together in order to figure things out. Okay, so now let's get into some specific situations you might run into and who exactly do you need to go to for approval or confirmation. Is it your school or your specialist for SDE? So anything financially related, like a loan or just anything finance related, you would take to your specialist. You know, SDE's representative, we are your direct employer and we are paying your salary. And so we're responsible for that. Your school doesn't have anything to do with you financially. Any types of schedule changes or attendance related stuff, or if you're going to take any sick or personal leave, or even coordinating when exactly you need to return for your second school semester, if you're on a 1-year contract, all of that needs to be coordinated with both your school and your specialist for SDE, as that does affect both entities very much so. And then finally, for your contract renewal, you know, once your contract's up, if you want to stay another year for SDE and work with us, again, you're going to communicate with just SDE on that. We're responsible for your contract as your direct employer. You know, if you want to stay at the same school, that's great. You can talk to your school about it. You can talk and let SDE know, but we're the ones who have full control over that and not your school, because like I said before, we are the direct employer. All right, so now on to some fun stuff. Let's talk about, in the next few slides, your salary, housing or living allowance, a few taxes you need to pay, and also some of their tax receipts, or fapiao, as it's called in Chinese. So a few important details worth mentioning about your salary. It is typically paid on the 12th of each following month. So you would receive your September salary on October 12th, and that's standard Chinese salary schedule once a month. It will depend on your monthly attendance form. Your attendance form is a sheet of paper that just says if you had full attendance for that month or not. It will be confirmed at the end of each month by your specialist, your contact teacher, and yourself. And everything will be coordinated by your specialist. They'll remind you near the end of the month to get it signed by everyone so that there's no questions about if you had full attendance for the month or not. Next up is housing allowance, or as we call it sometimes, living allowance. So again, it is paid on the 12th of each month, just like your normal salary. It's in addition to it. This is actually tax-free though. So a privilege that foreigners get while living in China is that their living allowance is completely tax-free. What will be required though, in order to get this tax-free incentive, is a rental contract copy from your landlord during your first month. Your specialist can help arrange to get a copy of that. And then during each of the following months, you'll have to submit tax receipts in order to get that amount tax-free. And this special tax receipt is called a fapiao. I'll get into that a little later, but your specialist can help you organize that so that, again, you can get this monthly rental payment amount each month completely tax-free, which does save our teachers a great amount of money in taxes. It's a special benefit just for foreigners in China. Okay, next up is a few tax details. So like most employers in other countries, SDE will actually automatically deduct your income tax and pay it for you before they give you your salary. Foreigners in China actually get the first 4,800 RMB tax-free. It's kind of an added benefit to being a foreigner. And then social insurance contributions will also be made for you before tax. SDE will make a contribution to your public health insurance account, and then will also withdraw yours as well, which is about 200 RMB per month. Next up, like I mentioned, housing allowance can be tax-free if you have that receipt or fapiao, which your specialist will help you get and is provided by your landlord. And so you'll get that first 4,800 tax-free along with whatever your living allowance is, and then the rest of your salary will get taxed normally based on Chinese income tax brackets. So you may have heard me use the word fapiao a few times, but it is just Chinese for receipt. And the most common one you'll be dealing with is the one for your housing allowance. It's going to be provided by your landlord, and your specialist can help you get it so that you don't have to pay tax on your rent payment. A fapiao is just a receipt confirming a transaction has taken place and that the government can confirm taxes are being paid correctly and accordingly. When exactly would you need a fapiao? Like I've already mentioned, your housing allowance will require one if you don't want to pay taxes on that. And then also when you pick up your residence permit, you'll need to pay a small amount and get a fapiao from the government office, and then SDE will reimburse you for the full amount. So those are really the only two times you'll really need to worry about getting a fapiao, and your specialist will help you out with both. All right, one more thing about fapiaos, specifically your housing or living allowance fapiao. I know I've talked a lot about it, but it is important because you really want to get it each month to make sure you're saving a lot of money on taxes throughout the year. It should be a receipt provided by your landlord. Some landlords are not willing to provide them. So what you and your specialist can do when searching for apartments is just confirming that your landlord can provide fapiao before you actually move in and sign the lease. You need to check that before signing that lease contract, like I just said. Your specialist can help you with all of this. I don't want it to seem like an overwhelming process. It's actually pretty simple. It's just everyone needs to be on the ball to make sure it happens, or else you'll just have to pay, maybe a couple thousand RMB extra in taxes over the course of the entire year. So we're just trying to save you some money and get you this nice benefit that the Chinese government provides to foreigners. And we are already working with several rental agencies throughout our cities, including Shenzhen. And so most of the time when you get here, your specialist will already have a good idea of several apartments in the area of your school that are, good for foreigners to live in, high quality, a decent price, and then of course can provide this fapiao. Okay, so one of the most important things at the end of this video I want to go over is a few important contacts that you'll need to have while you're here. Of course, by far, your specialist is going to be the most important contact you'll have while working for SDE. They'll be the SDE employee you talk to the most, and you'll get your specialist assignment usually a few weeks before you arrive in Shenzhen, or maybe even once you get here. Up until that point, your recruiter is going to be your main contact, and of course you can go to them with any questions or concerns. Once you've arrived, specifically in Shenzhen, there are also a few important contacts that you should make a note of. Jenna is responsible for all of the specialists in the West districts of Shenzhen. So again, if your specialist isn't helping you enough with a certain issue or not getting back to you as quick as you'd like, just because they're probably busy with a lot of other teachers, you can escalate that issue to Jenna in the West. And then Brian is her counterpart in the East. Both Jenna and Brian are great. I work with them every day, and they've helped a lot of teachers since they've been here. And they're very good at their jobs in managing their different East and West districts of Shenzhen. Another role I've mentioned previously in this video is our foreign teacher coordinator, Arpita Sinha. She is an American who has taught for SDE for 3 years before joining our office team. I myself, Drew, am in the recruitment and managing department, and then she is basically the other side of the business, the teacher-facing side of the business once you've arrived. She assists the business team and the specialists and the academic team and HR, and is really here to just support teachers when they have special issues that maybe need a foreigner's input on. And she's very experienced. She's been with us for a while, so she has a really good idea of what a teacher needs and where they're coming from with their viewpoint. So these are a few good contacts to have. You'll get their contact information again once you arrive, but I just wanted to give you a heads up on it. All right, and that's the end of video number 3. Up next is video number 4, Coming to China. I will actually not be narrating any more videos. I'm going to hand it over to one of our previous SDE colleagues. His name is Alistair, and he's from the UK. He was actually the foreign teacher manager at SDE for a few years and recorded the next videos in the series when he was here. And so I'll let him take it away from here. Thanks, guys. Catch you later.